Mike the Dodge Guy here. I know it's been a little while since I've done a video. Had a lot of things going on over the holidays, so between studies and family and stuff, I didn't get any videos done. So I figured today I would do just a short video on battery maintenance. I don't know how many of y'all ever do battery maintenance. I do mine about once every 6 months. My batteries tend to last me between 4 to 8 years, and that seems to work for me. But it helps keep the corrosion off the batteries, which makes longer life, less chance of a sudden breakdown. So bear with me and follow along, and I'll show you how I do mine. Just take a few minutes. Thank you. First thing you want to do, you want to get you a decent little terminal cleaner. I get this from AutoZone. It's kind of any corrosion that you have on the terminals, you spray it on, and it'll eat away the corrosion. Plus, it'll lube the bolt, so it's easier to get the nut loose. Once you've done that, I'll grab my supplies so I don't have to keep walking around behind the camera. Once you've done that, take your wrench, you want to disconnect the negative side first, and do that, try to keep from creating any sparks. And then you disconnect the positive side. I don't know if you can see it, but you see this red right here? That's where that cleaner is eating acid or corrosion. When you spray it, take the cables, get them completely out of the way. You want to make sure you get your cables, your cable ends, which you get all the corrosion off of them. Then you take you a towel, a little paper towel will work. Wet this stuff up. That way you don't have a lot of residue and stuff fighting you on the rest of this. Do that, kind of get you cleaned up. And then when you put the protectant on there, the cleaner is not going to stop the protectant from doing its job. Once you get that wiped down, cleaned up, get you a little wire brush. Okay. Now I've got a little brush here for doing the stems, brush here for doing inside the terminals. Okay. I take the end, run this, spin it inside there a little bit, and the inside's going to be nice and shiny when you're done. Okay, tap it out for any residue there. Same on the positive side. Get it all wire brushed out. Once you've done the terminals, the inside of the terminals, you take this, spin it on top of the battery terminal, and just keep spinning it as you work it off. You can see how it goes from dull to shiny. Always do the negative first whenever I do that, because the positive side is bigger than the negative. Like I say, you just spin it around there a little bit. and bring it back up. Do that once or twice. If you do it on a regular basis, I mean, it's not going to take much to clean these connections up. So, alright. Take you another little towel. Run it around a little bit, just get any kind of loose stuff off of there. Wrap a little bit of towel up inside here. Again, to get any kind of loose metal out of there. Loose metal will cause you to have a bad connection. That's the reason you want to go ahead and get it out of there. Now, as you can tell, this video is not very long because not a whole lot to it. Put the positive side back up. Okay. Get it hooked up. Get it tightened up. There we go to tighten these up. I always put my thumb back here on the back side. And that's just to keep this thing from rocking and tightening up uneven. There's positive. Now, when you go to hook the negative up, it's going to leave a little bit of a spark. As long as it's a little spark, don't worry about it. It's going to be common. Okay. There you go. It's all cleaned up. Now, the next thing is going to be your battery corrosion preventative. Now, for years, I always just used wheel bearing grease. Put that on there, it worked great. Not a problem. Problem was, it was always kind of hard to get it back up under there, and later on, if you were working on the truck and you leaned across here, you'd end up with a gob of grease on your arm, and that was just nasty. You hear the little ball in there. You want to shake it up just like you do a paint can. Pop the top off. As you can see, it's a little different color. Okay. Positive side, you want to peel that back because you're trying to get all the way back here. And the best thing about the aerosol is it covers all over. And there you have it. 10-15 minutes and you're done. And when doing this, a lot of these newer vehicles have this little band, cheap little band that goes around there. Well, it's cheap and it's a band because that way they don't have to spend so much money on terminals. I prefer these type of terminals. Normally I would have the ends of my cables would have a ring on them so that they can mount, the bolt can mount right through them. Doing the battery maintenance, you're keeping a few things from happening. For one, you're not spending $200 on a battery every 2 or 3 years. They'll last longer. The batteries will last longer because that's one of the things that kills them. The corrosion and the extra power it takes to jump across that corrosion to get you the spark that you're after. It does cause a problem. I mean, it makes the battery work harder. Your alternator can be charging just fine. The starter can be working just fine, but your battery's having to work harder because of the corrosion at the battery terminals, which 9 times out of 10, that's where you're going to have the most corrosion. Some people have to replace their whole cable because of corrosion. Well, the corrosion starts at the battery terminal connection. That's where it starts, and it eats its way down through. The more corrosion, the more resistance in the wire, which means the battery has to work harder. Now, up north, you guys are in cold areas, you guys have these blankets around these batteries. That's just to keep the acid from freezing. And down south, we don't have to worry about battery freezing. We're not running 20, 30 degrees for multiple days. So down here, what kills the battery the most is going to be extreme heat. You know, it's 100 degrees outside. You just drove the car 20 miles and you parked it. Well, underneath the hood, it'll reach 250. I've had a thermometer up under the hood of my truck 20 miles to work. When it was 90 degrees outside, I went out there 30 minutes later and it was 250 degrees. That heat will kill the battery. So extreme heat and extreme cold will kill the battery, especially on a continuous basis. So just a recommendation, let me phrase this properly, just a personal recommendation. If you live in a northern area where you have a lot of snow or it gets cold a lot, or your average temperatures 70s, sometimes 80s, but during the winter you've got 2-3 months where you're running 30 degrees every day, keep a little blanket around it. It'll help your battery last a little longer. But you get further south where during the summer your average temperature is 90, 95 degrees, and your winter basically consists of like 2 weeks where it hits like 20 or 30 degrees, and the rest of the time it's running 60s and 70s, like today. I mean, here it is, first Saturday after New Year's, and we were sitting at 71 degrees today. I mean, I'm out here in a t-shirt. The blankets keep the battery too hot. I've had my batteries last longer without the blankets than I have with the blankets. So it's just personal preference, I guess. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there who say, oh no, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm just going by personal preference. I don't care what the scientists say. I don't care what the engineers say. I'm going by what I've experienced. I lived in Alaska for a year. Had no blankets on the batteries because I moved from South Texas to Alaska. I bought 2 batteries while I was there. The third battery, I left a blanket on it, as per the mechanic's recommendation up there. When I got back to South Texas, 8 months, I was buying a new battery. Again, one extreme to the other. Okay? So this is all I've got for this time. When I go through and do the editing on this, if I can't get this video to edit correctly, I'm just going to scrap it and redo it all together. Oh, and by the way, I'm trying out a new camera. That's the reason you see me looking in 2 different directions here. I've got my regular phone that I've been doing videos on, and then for Christmas I got a camera and a tripod and a mic to help me with my YouTube videos and hopefully make them a little better. So we're trying, and like I promised, as time went on, videos would get better. So subscribe if you like the content, and even if you're just curious to see what I'm going to come up with next to do content on, or if you have a suggestion. If you have something that you'd like to see me do, and if I can, if I have a vehicle around here or have the opportunity to, I'll record it, put it on video, show you how I do it, show you what seems to be the best way. A couple of videos I've got coming up. I'm going to be changing over a 1989 Dodge from the first generation TBI fuel injection system over to a 4-barrel carburetor, and I believe that's going to take probably a 3 or 4 part series. You know, that's just one of the things I've got ahead in the future. As things go on and things get better, I'll probably even record me doing an engine swap. But we'll have to see how the future holds. I'm still currently working with a couple of shops that are thinking about giving me copies of their work orders. So I can explain to y'all how a shop work order reads, what different things on that work order means, and to kind of help you to keep from getting the wool pulled over your eyes at most shops. So, like I said again, if you like this video, be curious to see what happens in the future, any of that, like and subscribe. And if you watch in the description, you'll see stuff that I've used in this video. You'll see links to it. Go to those links, check them out. Those links may go to Amazon, they may go to a couple of parts stores that I use. Never can tell. But you go to that link, it gives you an opportunity to get the same tools, the same equipment, or the same product that you saw on my videos. Thank you. Have a good day. And have a happier new year. Bye.